The sun had barely risen when a young boy stumbled across a strange sight in his village, an old, abandoned well. Most children would have run past it, ignoring the shadows that danced across the stones. But not him. Something inside whispered, "There's more here than meets the eye." He leaned closer, peering into the darkness, curiosity brimming in his eyes. The world beyond the village had always seemed enormous, filled with unseen paths and untold stories. Yet here he was, staring into a hole that promised nothing, or perhaps everything. His father often said, "Life is simple if you stay within your fields." But the boy didn't understand simplicity. Questions bubbled inside him like a storm. Why are some people stuck while others soar? Why does effort not always lead to reward? That morning he took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "Maybe the answers lie somewhere I haven't dared to go." And with that, he dropped a small stone into the well, listening to the sound fade into silence. But instead of fear, a spark of courage lit within him. Little did he know, this small act would start a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, success, and growth. Every step he would take from that moment on would be a step closer to the truth, and a step further from the comfort of the life he had always known. A sudden creak echoed behind him. He turned sharply, heart racing. Was it the wind or something watching him? He couldn't tell. One thing was certain, life, in its most honest form, was about to teach him lessons no village teacher could ever give. The boy's heart still pounded as he backed away from the well. His village seemed smaller somehow, the familiar paths suddenly foreign. He realized that life wasn't just about the routine he had grown up with, it was about choices, risks, and the courage to step beyond the known. That afternoon, he wandered toward the edge of the forest. Sunlight filtered through the trees, creating patterns on the ground like puzzles waiting to be solved. With every step, questions swirled in his mind. Why do some people rise while others remain trapped? Is success just luck, or is there a secret no one shares? Then he saw it, a crumpled piece of parchment lying beneath the roots of an old oak tree. Curious, he picked it up and unfolded it. Words, faint but legible, stared back at him. The path to growth begins where fear ends. His pulse quickened. It felt as though someone or something was guiding him. He spent hours that day retracing every lesson he'd ignored. The harsh words from neighbors, the failed attempts at helping his family, the moments when he had given up too easily. Each memory felt like a stepping stone, a map leading him to an unseen truth. As twilight approached, he heard the distant howl of a wolf. A shiver ran down his spine. Wolves weren't in these parts, yet the sound was real. Was it a warning, a sign? He didn't know. But one thing was clear, life had opened a door, and now he had to walk through it, no matter the cost. And just as the first stars appeared in the sky, he realized something terrifying. The journey wasn't just about discovering the world, it was about discovering himself. Night had settled over the village, yet the boy couldn't sleep. His mind was alive with questions, each one louder than the last. Why do people settle for less than they're capable of? Why does fear hold us back from our greatest potential? Unable to rest, he ventured out again, guided by the light of the moon. Shadows stretched long across the fields, twisting familiar shapes into something strange, almost alive. Every step forward felt like stepping into a story written just for him, a story where growth demanded courage and success required sacrifice. He stumbled upon a small clearing and froze. There, sitting calmly by a flickering fire, was an old man. His eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, filled with the weight of countless experiences. "You're searching for answers," the old man said softly, as if he had been waiting for this moment all along. The boy nodded, unsure of how to explain the whirlwind inside him. The old man continued, "Life will test you, challenge you, and sometimes it will break you. But every trial, every failure, is a lesson disguised as pain. Growth is earned through the storms you survive, not the safety you cling to." A gust of wind swept through the clearing, and the boy felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He realized the journey ahead would not be easy. Each choice would matter, each hesitation could cost him dearly. Yet deep within, a spark ignited, a fire of determination that whispered, I will not settle, I will rise. Suddenly, the fire flared unexpectedly, casting shadows that danced wildly across the clearing. The old man's gaze sharpened. The real test begins tomorrow. The next morning, the boy awoke with a mix of anticipation and dread. The village was quiet, but he felt a new weight on his shoulders, a responsibility he couldn't ignore. Today, he would face the first real challenge of his journey. He remembered the old man's words. Every trial, every failure, is a lesson disguised as pain. With that in mind, he set out toward the distant hills, where rumors of a hidden mentor and secret knowledge had always stirred whispers among the villagers. The path was treacherous. Stones slipped underfoot, brambles scratched his arms, and shadows seemed to shift unnaturally around him. Every obstacle tested his resolve. Each time he stumbled, he reminded himself, growth comes from persistence, not avoidance. Hours later, he arrived at a cliff overlooking a raging river. The only way across was a narrow, rickety bridge, swaying violently in the wind. Doubt gnawed at him. What if I fall? What if I'm not ready? But fear was exactly the barrier he needed to conquer. With trembling hands, he stepped onto the bridge. Planks creaked, ropes strained, and his heart thumped like a drum. Halfway across, a strong gust nearly threw him into the churning waters below. For a moment he froze. Then he remembered the spark inside him, the fire of determination that had been growing since the abandoned well. One careful step after another, he pressed forward, until finally he reached the other side. The cliff's edge wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a symbol. He had crossed fear itself, proving to himself that no challenge, no obstacle could hold him back if he refused to give in. And as he looked out over the vast landscape stretching before him, he realized the true journey was only beginning. The boy stood at the edge of the hill, the wind whipping through his hair, carrying the scent of possibility. Everything he had endured, the curiosity, the fear, the failures, had led him to this moment. He understood now, life's problems weren't punishments. They were lessons, each one shaping him into someone stronger, wiser, unstoppable. In the valley below, he saw the village he once thought defined him. But now it felt smaller, not because it had changed, but because he had. He realized growth wasn't about escaping life. It was about transforming within it, learning to face every challenge with courage and clarity. The old man's words echoed in his mind. Every trial is a lesson disguised as pain. And the boy finally understood their truth. Success didn't come from luck, nor from avoiding obstacles. It came from the resilience to rise every time life knocked him down, the courage to act when fear whispered, and the patience to learn when answers weren't clear. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, he smiled. He was no longer the curious boy who had dropped a stone into an abandoned well. He was a young man who had faced fear, embraced growth, and unlocked a future filled with endless possibilities. And in that moment, he realized the most powerful lesson of all. Life will always test you, but the strength to overcome it has been inside you all along.